Dayton, Ohio, just another ordinary town. Quiet streets, friendly neighbors, the kind of place where nothing too crazy ever happens. At least, that's what everyone thought. But one late summer night in 2005, something happened here, something so horrifying, it defied reason and shattered the town's sense of normalcy forever. China Arnold was a 25-year-old mother who, like many others, was juggling the responsibilities of raising her children while striving to create a stable life. She lived in a modest apartment in Dayton, Ohio, with her boyfriend, Terrell Talley, and their children. Among them was Paris Talley, their youngest, just 28 days old. To the outside world, China appeared to be a devoted mother, often seen caring for her kids and trying to make ends meet. But behind closed doors, life wasn't so simple. Financial struggles, unresolved tensions, and the pressures of young parenthood weighed heavily on the family. China's past wasn't without its challenges. Previous convictions for abduction and forgery hinted at a troubled history. Yet, she seemed determined to leave those mistakes behind, focusing on her children and their future. But simmering tensions within the household and China's inner struggles were about to ignite, leading to an act so unthinkable it would leave a permanent scar on the community of Dayton. Terrell, her boyfriend, by most accounts, was described as a loving father and an active presence in the home. He worked to support the family and appeared deeply invested in their children's well-being. But doubts surrounding Paris's paternity sparked frequent arguments between Terrell and China. It started with a question, a seed of doubt planted in the middle of an already strained relationship. That question turned into accusations, and soon, the quiet walls of their modest home echoed with angry words. China Arnold and Terrell Talley argued late into the night, the subject of their fight, the paternity of their newborn daughter, Paris. Each word thrown like a dagger, each accusation stoking the flames of frustration and anger. The air was heavy, suffocating, and something unspoken hung between them, a tension that felt like it could snap at any moment. And when it did, it unleashed a horror so unimaginable, no one could have foreseen the consequences. In the quiet hours of that fateful night, the argument had subsided, but the storm within China Arnold raged on. Alone with her thoughts, clouded by alcohol and anger, she faced her 28-day-old daughter, Paris. In a moment that defies comprehension, Arnold placed her infant into the microwave and activated it. For approximately 2 minutes, the appliance hummed, a sound so ordinary, yet in this context, utterly horrifying. The microwave, a common household device, had become an instrument of death. Paris suffered severe internal injuries as her body temperature soared to lethal levels, all while showing no external burns. The medical examiner later determined that the infant's internal temperature had reached between 107 to 108 degrees Fahrenheit, leading to her tragic and immediate demise. The following morning, Arnold and her boyfriend, Terrell Talley, found Paris unresponsive. Panic set in as they rushed her to the hospital, where she was pronounced dead upon arrival. Initial observations noted the absence of external injuries, making the cause of death a chilling mystery. It wasn't until a thorough autopsy was conducted that the horrifying truth emerged: Paris had died from hyperthermia induced by microwave radiation. This revelation sent shockwaves through the community and the nation, as the incomprehensible nature of the act left an indelible mark on all who heard of it. A quick question for you before we continue. Do you support violence against women, men, or children? Have you ever been involved in any form of violence against anyone? If your answer is no, then hit that subscribe button. Together, we can fight violence and raise awareness to create a safer world for everyone. The death of Paris Talley immediately raised questions that demanded answers. At first glance, her death was perplexing. There were no visible signs of trauma, no clear explanation for her sudden passing. But the autopsy revealed the chilling truth, turning what seemed like a tragic mystery into a criminal investigation. Police began piecing together the events of that fateful night, focusing on the mother, China Arnold. She initially claimed she had been heavily intoxicated, so drunk, in fact, that she couldn't recall what had happened. Her defense attorney later stated that Arnold had no memory of her actions, citing her alleged level of intoxication as a possible factor. But investigators were unconvinced. They combed through Arnold's history and found a troubling pattern. This was not her first encounter with the law. In 2000, Arnold had been convicted of abduction, and in 2002, she had been charged with forgery. These prior convictions painted a picture of a woman who had struggled with accountability and impulse control. As investigators dug deeper, new pieces of the puzzle emerged. Arnold's behavior after Paris's death began to raise red flags. Witnesses recounted seeing her calm and composed, even as she brought her lifeless daughter to the hospital. Her lack of visible distress didn't fit the profile of a grieving mother, and police couldn't ignore it. Then came the break in the case. Forensic evidence from the microwave confirmed that it had been used to cause Paris's death. This revelation was enough for authorities to move forward, and China Arnold was arrested for the murder of her infant daughter. But this was just the beginning of a long and complex journey toward justice, one that would expose even darker truths about what had happened inside that home. Behind the cold, gray walls of the Montgomery County Jail, China Arnold sat awaiting trial, surrounded by whispers and speculation. The evidence against her was mounting, but the most damning revelation was yet to come. It was during her time in custody that Arnold made a crucial mistake, one that would become the turning point in her case. She confided in a fellow inmate, Linda Williams, and what she shared sent chills through anyone who heard it. According to Williams, Arnold admitted to placing her infant daughter, Paris, in the microwave. Her words, haunting and devoid of emotion, described an act so incomprehensible that even her cellmate struggled to process it. Williams would later testify in court, recounting the confession with chilling detail. Prosecutors seized on this new evidence, painting a picture of a woman who, despite her claims of intoxication and memory loss, knew exactly what she had done. Arnold's confession added weight to the forensic findings, cementing the case against her. But in the courtroom, the defense fought back, claiming the jailhouse confession was unreliable and possibly fabricated. They argued that Linda Williams, like many inmates, might have been motivated by personal gain or leniency in her own case. Despite the defense's efforts, the confession proved powerful. It provided insight into Arnold's state of mind and served as a disturbing reminder of the horrors that had unfolded that night. With this revelation, the case against China Arnold took a decisive turn, bringing prosecutors closer to securing justice for baby Paris. The legal battle that followed was as complex as it was harrowing. China Arnold's trial began in February 2008, and from the outset, it was clear this would be no ordinary case. The evidence was overwhelming, but the defense was determined to cast doubt on Arnold's intent and state of mind on that fateful night. Prosecutors presented the forensic findings in chilling detail: the microwave, the medical examiner's testimony about the internal injuries, and the lack of external burns that confirmed the horrifying nature of Paris's death. They argued that Arnold's actions were deliberate, fueled by anger and frustration. Adding weight to their case was the testimony of Linda Williams, Arnold's cellmate, who recounted the jailhouse confession in graphic detail. Her words painted a damning picture of Arnold's admission and her lack of remorse. But the defense wasn't without its own strategy. They argued that Arnold had been heavily intoxicated, to the point of blacking out, and therefore incapable of forming the intent to commit murder. They questioned the credibility of Williams, suggesting she had fabricated the confession to curry favor with authorities. The trial took a dramatic turn when new testimony emerged, leading to a mistrial. The defense seized on the chaos, using the mistrial as an opportunity to regroup and strengthen their argument. In a retrial later that year, the prosecution doubled down. They meticulously reconstructed the timeline of events, presenting a compelling case that left little room for doubt. Witnesses described Arnold's behavior leading up to and after the incident, painting a picture of a woman struggling with rage and instability. Finally, on September 8, 2008, the jury returned its verdict: guilty of aggravated murder. Arnold was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The courtroom fell silent as the weight of the decision sank in. For the family of Paternity, there was no solace, no undoing the loss they had endured. But for the community, the verdict marked the end of a dark chapter and a step toward justice. China Arnold remains behind bars, her name synonymous with one of the most shocking crimes in Dayton's history. The trials left an indelible mark, not just on those involved, but on everyone who heard the horrifying details of a case that defied understanding. The verdict brought a measure of justice, but it did little to heal the wounds left behind. The tragic loss of Paternity, a baby who never had the chance to experience life, remains a haunting reminder of the unthinkable cruelty that can exist in this world. For the family, the pain was immeasurable. Paris's father, Terrell Talley, carried the weight of loss, compounded by the knowledge that it came at the hands of someone he once trusted. Why did this happen? Could it have been prevented? The community of Dayton was shaken to its core. Neighbors who once felt safe in their quiet streets now spoke in hushed tones about the case that had gripped the nation. Parents held their children a little tighter, grappling with the realization that darkness can lurk even in the most unassuming places. Paris's death wasn't just a personal tragedy, it became a scar on Dayton's collective memory. People remembered the headlines, the horrifying details, and the heartbreaking images of a life cut far too short. For years, her name would be spoken with a mix of sorrow and disbelief, a symbol of innocence lost and the consequences of unchecked rage. China Arnold's name, on the other hand, became infamous, tied forever to one of the most shocking crimes in Ohio's history. Her life sentence serves as a reminder of the justice system's role in holding individuals accountable, but also as a stark warning about the destructive power of anger and despair. As Dayton moved forward, the story of Paternity remained a dark chapter in its history, one that would never be forgotten. The community carried her memory, not as a tale of horror, but as a call to protect the vulnerable, cherish the innocent, and confront the emotions that can lead to irreversible consequences. And so, the quiet streets of Dayton return to normal, but the shadow of that fateful night lingers, a haunting reminder of the fragility of life and the devastating choices that can shatter it in an instant. This case reminds us of the importance of protecting the innocent and seeking help when emotions spiral out of control. If you or someone you know is struggling, reach out to a trusted friend, family member, or professional. Let's work together to prevent tragedies like this from ever happening again. If this story moved you, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime stories that reveal the darkest corners of humanity. Together, we can learn from the past to build a safer future.